Hey there, everybody. This is FitSpaz RECOVERY. I'm your host, Paul, the producer. I'm here to help you get fit, get healthy, and stay sober. So, what a week I have had. I've had such an eventful week, and it was wonderful. It's like I hit a big climactic peak and then just nosedived into a pain in the butt existence. But let me tell you why, okay? I've been maintaining my fitness. Last week I did 6 out of my 7 days of 22-minute hardcore, and then I went on the 7th day, and instead of doing that workout, I was running the Warrior Dash down in Larkspur, Colorado. That went, for the most part, that was very cool. I had a lot of fun doing that. And Friday night, we were staying down there near the event in Castle Rock at a La Quinta Inn, and I felt a little off on Friday. I was like, oh, this is weird, but that's nothing. I'll just get a good night's sleep tonight and be fine. And so I woke up Saturday. I ran the race, and it's 5 kilometers if you're not familiar with it. And I think there were a total of 8 obstacles, different types of things. And the last one being the muddiest experience of your life. If you've never done it before, you have to thoroughly go through this mud pit and submerge yourself, which is nasty. And then when that's over, you take a freezing cold shower to rinse off this cold, super cold mud. And then the water in the shower was cold, and none of that was helpful. And then the remainder of the day, I was just my sinuses were insane, and I was sneezing just these heavy, crazy, full sneezes constantly. And I thought it was probably because of all this dust that I was breathing running through the race. But as it turns out, I probably caught a cold. You can probably hear it right now. And so for a couple days after that, my sinuses and snot were just insane sneezing. And gosh, who knows? I was probably contagious, and not knowing that, I was just like, oh, hey, it's from inhaling all this dust people were kicking up during the race. But as time went on, I realized, hey, no, I think I actually caught a cold. It was just crazy, strange timing. And so, consequently, Monday and Tuesday, for about a 48-hour period, that was like the absolute worst as far as I felt. I felt achy, and this nose snot thing in my head moved down to my throat Monday morning, and my throat was so tender when I woke up, and swallowing it was like, ouch. And then over the course of the next day, it started moving into my lungs. And I was checking my temperature, and I had a little fever. And last night I still had one. Today I feel like I'm noticeably on the better side of it, even though I still have that audible stuffiness in my head. The achiness is gone, thank God. And for 2 days over those 48 hours, I felt like I had a worm burrowing through my brain. So no exercise yesterday, but I still made it a point to get up and meditate. And here's the point I want to make about some of this. It's that, so I got sick, right? And it's totally thrown off my normal daily patterns and habits, except for the fact that I just told you I got up and meditated. After I did that, I actually went back to bed for several hours and just got the extra sleep. And last night I actually got also an excellent night of sleep. But my point I was going to make is today I got up and I did yoga. I don't want to dive right back into hard exercise, because as I've heard professional trainers and medical people say, your body is under stress when you're sick. And so if you work out really hard when your body's under stress, you're not doing yourself any favors. So I kind of want to take it easy on the exercise until I recuperate from this sickness completely. So today I got up and I did yoga, and it's nothing too strenuous at all. I really like this program. Beachbody put up this 3-week yoga retreat, and I go to these ones and they say stretch, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that one, stretch. And so I like stretching my body out. It gets my blood flowing, and I get a tiny bit warm. No exertion too much, so it feels like a good choice. But in order not to break my habits, careful. In order not to, I like the more solid sounding tone on that. You hear that? In order to keep going with these great habits I have day to day, my morning routine with meditation, prayer, and exercise, I just feel like I got to maintain some kind of activity, and the yoga is a good choice because it's activity. It keeps me focused on something and habituated to hitting play on my TV with something. It's physical, but not too much. And like I said, I feel like I lose my ability really fast. So I felt like a useless lump on a log for about a 48-hour period. And I didn't read much, and so, but I am still reading. I'm able to get back into it now that I'm not sick. I wasn't going to the library because, I mean, I'm telling you, I was just wiped out. And I don't feel good when I don't do anything in a personal way, except that I'm like, hey, you know what? I've been doing a great job lately. Just give myself a break. Let myself recuperate. I'm also traveling next week, and I'm like, I need to be in good shape. So just take it easy. No need to dump on myself. But I'll be honest with you, since being sick, I could feel that drag on my mood. And it wasn't nearly as bad as when I was in a bad way, smoking all the time, drinking frequently. And I think I was able to sort of put it in perspective better being sober. So all very good things to keep in mind, like perspective and patience. Like, hey, I've thought if I had to live the rest of my life feeling as crappy as I felt the last couple of days, that would be a miserable existence. But realistically, I'm like, nah, I know I'll get better. I've been sick a lot, and the thing is, I've gone about a year and a half without getting sick at all. So it was like, darn it. I was wanting, because when I go a long stretch like that, I'm like, hey, gee whiz, I'd like to go 2, 3, 5 years without being sick and be like, woohoo. But I don't know. Maybe getting sick does something good to put the body's system in order to get it healing or something. I don't know. It's just a thought I had, but I'm still reading. I'll just say that I finished up this book the past few days. I finished that up. Loved this book. Loved it so much that I ordered another book by this same author who talks about the next book. I can't remember the title, but he talks extensively about honesty and experiments he's done to explore the topic of honesty and why people lie in certain situations the way they do. And that guy really amazed me reading that. And so I can't rave enough about that book. There was nothing he said where I objected or I thought, oh, this guy, that's stupid. I have a handful of books I've read lately that I loved, but there were occasions in the book where I was kind of like, man, that's really stupid what you said. And so you say all this great stuff, and then you go and run into a wall saying something dumb. I'll give you an example right here. This 10 times rule, this is very good, and I like the underlying philosophy of what this guy is getting at in this book. Basically, that you set very high goals, and to achieve those goals, you have to put in an enormous, massive volume of work to actually achieve those goals. And it's no joke. So you have an idea of a goal in mind and how much work it takes to achieve that goal. And his suggestion is multiply that volume of work to achieve that goal by 10. In fact, increase your goal and just increase the volume of work you're willing to put into it by 10, and you're going to be so much more likely to be successful. And I happen to agree that you put in ridiculous amounts of work in terms of volume and the things you're doing to achieve what you would consider success. And he does say some silly things in here, just like some of these guys I've read lately. Like, one of them is he's talking about how you have to take responsibility for everything, personal responsibility for everything, which as a blanket statement, I'm like, yeah, I get that. I think it's important to take responsibility as an individual when you are responsible for mistakes and whatnot. So he gives this example, and this is what I'm getting at, of when you're driving a car, if you get rear-ended, you take responsibility for it no matter what. You take responsibility and think about how you could have done things differently to not be rear-ended. And so here's where we diverge, okay? So he's talking about this example, and he's saying you could have left your house earlier, you could have changed lanes, and he's not talking about, oh, you see you're about to be rear-ended. It's just about you leave your house earlier so you're not in the same place at the same time, and these are random things you can't predict. So when I think of the example, take responsibility for getting rear-ended, My mind, which I think is more wise on this point, goes to be the ultimate defensive driver. Be totally aware of your surroundings, looking far down and behind you and to the side. And so, oh, here's a light a couple hundred yards up. It's turning red, and I'm not going to speed up to that light and stop suddenly. I see that it's turning red, and there's no point to haul butt up to the light. So you slowly kind of roll up to the light. You drift up to the light, but you also use your brake lights to make the person behind you aware that you're stopping. And you keep an eye on them the whole time, making sure that they see you. And so there's a defensive mechanism driving, where you can take responsibility and better your chances of not getting in a wreck. And then there's this random approach he's talking about. But don't get me wrong, this guy has an extraordinary way of motivating. I just think there are these guys in these self-help books, I noticed, they are so sort of high on themselves because of their success that they can take some rubbish sometimes and polish it up. Like, what is this saying? Like, no matter how much you polish a turd, it's never going to be anything but a turd. So, like, if you were like, hey, Paul, read my book, what do you not like about it? I would tell him that part could be stated better, more intelligently, more in a more compelling way, because it just seems like you're saying take responsibility for something that you have no control over, which is a reality of life sometimes, because bad things happen to bad people. And so, given that fact that bad things happen to bad people, if somebody just walks up to you out of the blue and shoots you, you don't go, I take responsibility for this because I was standing in the supermarket at 2:07 p.m. on this day, and if I had just come 10 minutes later, that wouldn't have happened. Because there's no connection to that responsibility. Of course, bad things happen to good people, and it's not their responsibility. But what you can say is be ever vigilant, always looking out at every moment, just like defensively in the driving, you keep your eyes peeled and your peripheral vision, and you get a feeling and a sense for people around you. You just have and I'm not saying be paranoid either, but so another thing I read in a book a couple weeks ago, it was dumb. It was just dumb the way this one author who was so good the whole book at motivating me until he opened his big mouth and started generalizing his butt off about men and women. I was like, wow, that is really dumb. Basically saying women can do many things at once, but guys, they can't multitask. They can't do many things at once. They just have to be narrow-minded and set to one task at a given moment. And I'm like, that is baloney. As sure as, like, I've seen musicians play a guitar and tap a drum beat with one foot and a cymbal with the other foot and, like, play a harmonica and sing. It's like, it was just so stupid. And so, like, sometimes I think there are all these great points these motivational people have, but when you get into a deeper intellectual thought, sometimes they're just like, blah, 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 and I am so-and-so, and it's great, therefore it's great, and I am great, and it's like, hey, no, buddy, come down to earth and think about that a little bit, and you better have a guy like me, read your book so that I can point out the silly things you're saying that actually take away from your credibility, but you put it in there because of some silly hubris. So this does sound very kind of negative right now, but it's just like, as a philosopher, I read through these things and I'm taking what works for me. Okay, so I don't agree with everything this guy Grant Cardone says in the 10 times rule. However, it's the parts that I do agree with are so worth reading and taking, and that's a philosophy of life. Okay, when I've studied martial arts, I've read this book by Bruce Lee called The Tao of Jeet Kune Do. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but whatever. And Bruce Lee's idea was that there are all these different martial arts with all these forms and whatever, so you can learn all of them and you can practice the same forms over and over again. And where does it lead you? What does it get you? And his point was that take what works for you, okay? So there are certain things in this craft of martial arts versus this craft that will work better for you. If that works better for you, take it, use it. Different, because it's also unique to the individual. So what I'm realizing reading all these books in order to be more successful, in order to motivate myself, is I don't want or need to have to take everything. And what I appreciate about all of them, even the ones where the authors say some really dumb stuff, is that if it gets me motivated to do something or feel like, yes, I want to get up today and do this, then I feel great. I feel super about it. But as I was saying, I was sick the last couple days, so it's like the bottom dropped out in terms of my productivity. And yesterday I sat on the couch and I think I watched 4 or 5 episodes of Friends. And then I watched The Remnant with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's a great, beautiful, artistic movie, and I was having to tell myself, hey, don't feel bad about sitting here and watching this movie, because you're sick and you need to relax and you just need to get out of your head to avoid the reality of the worm burrowing through your brain because you have a fever and you feel really uncomfortable with the achy, tingly body. The Remnant was like the coldest movie I've ever seen in my bloody long life, okay? What do you mean cold? Cold, like shivering, freezing cold in the snow, in the freezing cold water, that in real life, if that happened, you'd have hypothermia and you'd die immediately. You don't get to hang out in the water that long and be like, okay. I recently also saw, this was a few weeks ago, I saw The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight, which in its own way was an extraordinary movie. Different, of course, more satirical. But it was like another wintry, freezing cold movie. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like the coldest thing I've ever seen. Until I saw The Remnant with Leonardo DiCaprio yesterday. And I was like, my God, this is like way more cold. Because not only is there snow, these guys, it's like if I were in the wilderness, freezing my butt off, and I'm thirsty. Here's a river right here, and I'm thirsty. I think I'll cut my hands and I'll avoid getting my furry sleeves wet that are keeping me warm. But they're just like getting themselves wet. I'm like, dude, it's 0 degrees outside. You think you might be able to stay a little bit dry, Mr. Freezing Bones? And I mean, like, is that for dramatic effect? Maybe, but it's totally unrealistic. So Leonardo's cruising down the river, floating on a stick to stay afloat. I'm like, dude, you would have died of hypothermia 20 times for as long as you were in that freezing cold water. Give me a freaking stinking break. But as a movie, I felt like it was very beautiful, very artistic, visually compelling, emotionally. Getting mauled by a bear, very graphic and insane. You hear how sick I am. And it just moved into my lungs yesterday. Dag nabbit. One sec. You like that? Look how red my face is getting, you video viewers. I'm too excited right now. I have all this podcast adrenaline running, coursing through my brains. Not corpsing. I almost feel like a corpse, though. This is one of the books that's up next, aside from 2 that are coming in the mail, one of them being by that predictably irrational dude, Dan O'Reilly. Go for no. Yeah, go for no. Because I am increasing the volume of the things I'm trying to do to get people involved in the various things. And that's my thought. What do you mean? I'm just hiding it from you. It's fitness. I'm trying to get people involved in fitness, and so it's not about sales to me. It's about you gotta get to the people who you want to change their life. So I have to go through masses of people and get used to being rejected a million times, as I've talked to you a lot lately. And so I figured this would be a good book to pick up. This came highly recommended from some guys in the fitness business. And it's another thing that kind of motivates me. And it's another thing that speaks directly to one of my biggest insecurities and I think shortcomings as a person, the fear I have of being told no for something, the fear I have of picking up the phone because of that fear of rejection. I want to get over that quite a lot. And so I'm not sure what else to say today. What shall I talk about? I rarely draw a blank like this, but my mind actually is kind of fuzzy today, and I'm just being patient, like I was telling you, being patient to move out of this state, this undesirable state. No sense in beating myself up for it. Maybe I should just keep this one short and wrap it up. Something will come to my mind. Oh, yeah. I want to thank Kevin MacLeod for all the great music that I get to play in this show. You can find out more about him by going to incompetech.com. And what's up? I just don't even know what to say now. I mean, like, if I dove into politics, hey, yeah, I could dive into politics. Watch the debate Monday night, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton. That'll be fun, right? I'm not going to tell you who I'm for or against, just that that's going to be really interesting, and that's going to get ratings like Super Bowl ratings, and that'll be interesting seeing those two wild dogs, those two wild ravenous dogs going after one another. Ravenous, rabid, narcissistic dogs. I shouldn't get political. All right, I will abandon those thoughts right now. I'm sorry, or I am, but I'm not, if that offends you. Sometimes we just got to be able to say what's on our mind. But I know I must be all the above, a bigot, xenophobic, sexist, for saying what I just said. How dare I? I know I should be put in a re-education camp, right? See, I can really dive off the cliff if I wanted to talk about that at length, but I'm not wanting to alienate anybody. This is predominantly a show about wanting to help people, and rather than looking to those two or your government to make your life for you and provide for you, I would encourage you, no matter what age you are, to do your best within your power in this amazingly opportunistic society to go out and create your own life, because you're your best shot, and we are blessed with an abundance of opportunity. And so much of it, the lion's share, resides in you to affect your own circumstances. If you look for that one person to save you, I think you're shortchanging your reality, and you'll do much better if you realize that you can seize your own personal power and make a difference in your own life. Start reading, okay? Start reading. Don't think that any of the books I've read lately weren't worth reading because there was a dumb thing here or there. Start reading, get motivated, do your little bit every single day to change your life. That's just what is extraordinary to me, that I recognize so clearly at my age and stage, and I wish I noticed this when I was 12, okay? You can really change your life. The compound effect of doing a little bit every single day to improve different skill sets, different situations, knowing to isolate the things that are most important. Doggone this thing. Knowing to isolate the things that are most important to achieve your success. This thing. All these distractions, all these technical distractions. How do I avoid this stuff? So take the handle, grab the wheel of your own life, and really make it happen. I believe, there are so many people out there, you might not have that much in the way of confidence, but if you could just realize the ability you have, and I'll tell you what, I'm so frustrated with, let me tell you what frustrates me, rather. I shouldn't state it like that, because I'm not frustrated. I get frustrated when I see others who just are unwilling to pick themselves up by the bootstraps and do what it takes to feel better. People who are in a drug-induced haze, people who are divorced, people who've lost a loved one. Yes, I'm not being unsympathetic. I'm not refusing to be empathetic. In fact, I'm both. I'm sympathetic and empathetic. But you have to realize your ability to get over these things. You have to put it in perspective, because life's too short to get too hung up on all that jazz. I am going to start wrapping this up, but what I want is, I do get frustrated with people who can't seem to dig themselves out of it, and I'm always saying, like, they have to discover their own means of doing that. I can't force an epiphany on you. So you have to discover for yourself or decide for yourself. And to me, it's come down literally to moments in time, a moment in time where I was like, enough. And I can actually pinpoint those moments and say that is where the demarcation was, where I took a different route and things got better. Even if by a little bit, you could be down in the dumps and you can still build a beautiful life out of it. And if you are suffering from a disease, like especially a disease like drug abuse or substance abuse, I'm really sorry, because I get it. But you got to dig your way out of it, and you got to passionately pursue a better life through spiritual cultivation, personal development, and fellowship with others who know how you feel. And the party's over sometimes, and sometimes you got to go do a different type of activity and find passion in other things. We don't have to let our lives revolve around all that substance abuse. And I know I'm saying that, and it's like I haven't been in the situation some people have where they are just so sick in the head with their particular situation. But still, I want to be like, come on, smack you upside the head, come out of it. For real, seriously. Okay, I've babbled on long enough. I have sort of just babbled, and I hope it's of some meaningful consequence to somebody. But what I want to say is, check out FitSpaz.com to find everything out about me. I have some cool videos posted up there, workout videos, some cool blogs with some rejection videos. And of course, this podcast is another one. And you can find all the social media on there. I'd appreciate it if you like my page on Facebook. If you like this, share it with somebody. I would appreciate you giving me feedback, whether you like it or not. Paul@fitspaz.com is where you can email me and tell me what I can do for you to make this better, more insightful, or bring up a topic that if you think something would be helpful and I can throw my philosophical spin at it. Tell me. I want to know. Okay? So, but I will get back to you as soon as possible. This will be a little different over the next few weeks. I will be posting content, but it's not going to be necessarily in this format. I think it'll be in video form that I convert also to an audio form, but it's not going to be a show format per se. I'm just going to be posting up my thoughts because I'm going to be busy, and you'll see why. And I will catch up to you guys, and I hope you have a good week. In the meanwhile, stay safe, stay well, get busy, improve your life. If you have a clogged up nose, blow that nose, clear it out, breathe smoothly, get healthy, oxygenate your blood, boost your immune system, thwart disease and illness and depression and suffocation. All right, that's it, everybody. I'm out of here, and I will talk to you later.